So, John, did you catch the big game last week? Just sit down. You had the hot wings. You invited all your buddies over.
I don't remember any big games. What came out was there's not a new Gears.
No,
it's not. I think Death Stranding already came out.
No, the Super Bowl, man. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
That's still a thing?
Yes, that's still a thing. And I only know about it because of the commercials.
I didn't even know about that.
Yep. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Rage Select Podcast. We don't play football. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
I don't even watch football. I don't watch any sport. I watch Overwatch League.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I
Evo highlights.
I don't even remember what I did last week Sunday.
Well, that answers the question. I was going to be like, so John, what did you do last week?
I went and saw a movie.
You saw that Gretel and Hansel, right?
Yeah.
How was that? I hadn't even heard of that until Amanda showed me the trailer, and then I was like, holy shit, that looks kind of cool.
It's it's very slow burn. It's one of those movies that I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it because it's...
You seem to be having some trouble.
Well, it's weird.
Okay.
Like, I liked it. Mm-hmm. Like, I could say I liked it. I just don't know, like... Because it's definitely one of those...
What would Jack do weird, or like...
I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen What Would Jack Do.
Or what? No, I'm thinking of that. What was that? David Lynch, the Netflix thing.
What
did Jack do? Or something?
What did Jack do?
Yeah.
Not that weird, but that's a weird with a level of fun. This is just kind of like it's kind of retelling the story of Hansel and Gretel.
Yep.
But from Gretel's perspective, and it's not necessarily like the witch is not necessarily depicted as an evil person, but at the same time, not a good person.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's interesting. Like I know Amanda liked it.
Yeah,
because she tends to really like those slow burn kind of thought provoking movies,
like the witch, the Vivitch.
Yeah. Those are kind of not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely, like I said, I liked it. I don't know how to say it other than that. Like I feel like it also wasn't a movie like directed at me in the way that so many other movies are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. But yeah.
Sounded like you were kind of like half and half with it.
Yeah.
You were like, I give it a 5 out of 10. Don't think I'd watch it again.
Yeah.
I didn't feel cheated, but I wasn't exactly in love with it.
Yeah, I was glad I saw it.
Okay.
I was glad I saw it.
Okay.
I don't think I'll probably watch it again.
Man, you guys have been on a movie roll. What's the thing? Was it Birds of Prey coming out this week?
Yeah, this week the two movies that come out this week are Birds of Prey and The Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I love the longness of that title, by the way. I really do. I refuse to call it just Birds of Prey. I have to say the whole title.
Apparently.
And then also The Lodge, which The Lodge is one that I've been Is that
another slow burn horror movie? Fucking slow burn horror movies are coming out in January.
Well, the problem with The Lodge is I feel like it tells you the entire plot in the trailer.
Okay. Well,
like it's literally, if you watch the trailer, it's like this can go only one of two ways, and I'm pretty sure one of those ways is not going to happen.
Okay.
So it's like I haven't heard anything about it. Like I haven't heard if it's good or bad, so I can't really gauge. And the Birds of Prey movie is also one of those I'm kind of half and half on.
Yeah.
Like it looks fun and interesting, but like at the same time, I don't really care about Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I don't know that I would go and pay $25.
But I like a lot of the actors that are in it.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of this, many of the characters. Like I like the Birds of Prey characters. I love the fact that, Renee Montoya is in the movie, and played by an actress who I went, yes, that's who should have played. Like before, I can't think of her name, unfortunately, but when people were like, "Oh, who would you cast as Renee Montoya?" I was like, "This person."
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they actually cast that person, I'm like,
She's the question in the comics, right?
Well,
or she was the question for a little while?
Still.
She's still the question?
Yeah.
Is she the question in the movie? Or
no, she's just Renee Montoya.
Okay.
She's just a cop.
Okay.
And then they have Cassandra Cain? I can't remember. The one Batgirl that no one talks about. Though that one's weird because that character in the comics is mute, but
I remember that Batgirl. I remember reading the first 5 issues of that, I think.
But in the movie, she's not mute.
Okay.
And then, like, you know, I'm okay with the Huntress, and I like Mary Elizabeth Winstead. So, you know, seeing her playing that type of character is interesting. You know, I like Black Canary, and I think the casting was very interesting. Like, there's a lot. I like watching the trailer. Like, makes me kind of want to see the movie,
right?
And then, like, someone who has seen the movies described them as, if you want to think about it, Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad is like a male power fantasy, and Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey is like an actual female power fantasy.
Okay.
Like, they're both the same character, and there's no difference between the character, but the way they're presented, the male one is overtly sexualized towards men, and the other one still is overtly sexualized, but not necessarily like specifically as eye candy.
Okay.
Like, there's context behind it.
Sure.
And it's kind of like, man, there are things said about this movie that I want to, that make me kind of want to see it, but at the same time, I really don't care about Harley Quinn. It's one of the reasons why I don't really give a shit about the DC Universe animated series, which I have watched a little bit of, but
everybody keeps telling me it's super good.
It is funny, but it's like, I don't give a shit about Harley Quinn. Like, it's like I care about every character but Harley Quinn in that show. And it's like I just had to stop watching it because I'm like, because Harley Quinn is just not.
I see. I don't necessarily have a problem with Harley Quinn. She's like Wolverine, where it's like everybody loves her so much, and I'm like, she's fine. But do I have to be just like shoving her into every last thing that exists because, like, yeah? And I don't know. I like Huntress. She's pretty cool. Like, she got a cool story.
Yeah, it's like there's a part of me that's like, can't we get a Birds of Prey movie without Harley Quinn? But
no.
The answer to that is no. So, and I don't fault for that. I'm glad that they're doing that because, again, I'm getting versions of characters that I want to see, which makes me interested in seeing the movie. But so we're kind of like, we don't know what to go see. We want to go see one of those two movies because we want to keep our tradition of going to see one movie a week.
Yeah,
because we've gone to see at least one movie a week since January 1st. You know, since the beginning of January. So, you know, we want to kind of keep that going.
Well, I wish you luck in your movie endeavor. I like to stay at home and watch TV, and that was why, out of all the stuff that they showed at the Super Bowl, there was one. Man, I'm kind of mad about this because you guys make all this stuff out. Marvel did like this big game spot that was like a 30-second montage of Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and literally one shot of Loki.
Yeah.
And it was funny because out of all of them, the WandaVision stuff I'm really interested in because this looks fucking weird. Like, this looks like some what's the Professor X's kid?
Legion.
Like some Legion shit, right? Like they got her dressed up in the dumb comic book red Scarlet Witch outfit with the big W around her head and all that stuff. It's funny because out of all these, Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of interests me the least because it kind of looks like just more of the slam bang action Marvel stuff, and I'm a little worn out on that. I'm a little bit worn out on that particular concept. Now, who knows? I mean, I will watch it, and if it's good, I will continue watching it. But the weirdness of WandaVision really stood out for me in this particular trailer. And then I was looking at something that we're talking about the Loki, the thing. He's like part of some weird organization. It says like TVM on his shirt. That's like something in the Marvel universe.
Oh, I don't know.
All I know is that out of all of them, I don't know. I'm ready. I feel like we spent the last 10 years doing proof of concept on like superhero movies, and now I'm like, all right, guys, it's time to get weird. It's time to go nutso crazy and do some strange shit. And that's why I appreciated this more than anything else. I mean, the rest was like, there's a new Top Gun trailer. There's a new Top Gun Maverick trailer. And I'm like, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch old Maverick fly planes again. Like, ugh. Speaking of old men and driving around big piece of machinery, I also watched Ford v Ferrari last week.
Oh, nice! I actually want to see that.
Yeah, it took me a while, but by the time when I finally got it opened up and I started watching it, within 5 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch all this movie. Like, it takes a lot to get me to actually watch a racing movie, but once I was in there, it was like, all right, we got, men going fast in cars. Sure.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, it's funny because like when the very first trailer for that movie came out, the day before it got released, the trailer, I was binge watching and catching up on the Grand Tour, Amazon's series for after Top Gear ended.
Okay.
Because I like the guys from Top Gear, the original Top Gear.
Mm-hmm.
I love Top Gear. Like, I'm not a car guy. I fucking love that show. I could literally watch those three men talk about cars all day long.
Yeah.
And they did, in one of the episodes of the Grand Tour, they actually did a whole thing that was all about what that movie is about.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, wow, this is really interesting. And then I saw the trailer and I'm like, it's the thing.
I know about that.
I know what this is.
Yeah, it was good. It also reminded me that I don't think I've watched a movie with Matt Damon or Christian Bale in it for a long, long time. And I was just like, oh yeah, you guys are really good at the whole acting thing. But no, it was fun. It was fun. And then I actually started watching both Carol and Tuesday, What We Do in the Shadows, and Uncut Gems last night, and then I didn't finish watching any of them. Actually, I've watched about 9 episodes of Carol and Tuesday. It's pretty good. I just find it hard to like hit the play button on it. And What We Do in the Shadows, episode 1 was good as well. So, anyway, that's all good stuff. Let's talk about bad stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's dive right in.
Last week, we spent a good long time talking about Warcraft 3, Reforged, and Blizzard. And Blizzard has finally come out and said they've made a statement. They put up a blog post on their forums. I'm not going to read it. It's basically, it's kind of some bullshit.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a unofficial comment before this where just someone said, "We're listening to you," and then that was the end of it. We can't promise any, what changes will be made, but just know that we are listening to your statements. And everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And then like the next day, this statement came out.
Yeah, I was actually trying to think the other day. Has there ever been what was the last game? Was it like Diablo 3 server crashing for a week was the last time that they had such a disastrous launch on a game?
Might have been.
Because that's like the launch window, but then I feel like once the server shit got straightened out with Diablo 3 was fine. Like, I liked Diablo 3.
No, I like Diablo 3. I love Diablo 3. I'm just saying, I say because there was always stuff people were complaining about. The whole...
I guess I'm just trying to think of when the last time that, like... It used to be that I guess I was thinking about
the loot store or whatever the fuck it was.
The real world,
with the real world. That was always bullshit thing.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is I was just thinking about like when they put out a statement and their messaging and stuff, and I'm like, so we had the big Blitzchung thing last year with the Hearthstone and everything, but I'm trying to think when the last time that Blizzard put out a game that would be considered like bad quality or like broken fundamentally, and I'm having a hard time because I don't feel like the launch for StarCraft HD was just an upres and like a bit of an update. It wasn't really a big thing, but like I think this might be the worst thing that they've ever put out, like just from a...
You're probably right on that. There was another quote just popped in my head, and I apologize. It might even be part of this thing that you're going to talk about. But like it was like someone like they tweeted out on Twitter something like, "We're sorry, the game is not the game that you envisioned in your head."
Oh yeah, they did. I'm sorry, you're offended. Yes.
Yeah, we're sorry that this is not the game that you envisioned in your head when we announced it.
Yep.
And it was like, that's a backhanded apology.
No, it's a passive-aggressive bullshit.
That's like saying it's not our fault that you have higher expectations than what we were willing to provide you.
So the one thing that I find most interesting, because they've actually said in here, like one of the things, some of this gets into nitty-gritty that like last week I don't really understand. One of them was a particular game mode for the multiplayer that was taken out, and in this statement they actually said like there were very few people playing that. And you can kind of recreate that with a custom online game. So we took that mode out because it was just kind of making things more complicated than they needed to be, right? Instead of having a whole separate mode, it's like, just do this in custom games. You can probably get it 90% of what it was. The main thing, though, is the cutscene thing. Like, and the reason that I get so hung up on that is because I haven't in here. I should probably check it this week, but last week they still had the promo video on their website of the updated cutscene, and it's like, so like that was one of those things where, if the expectation was here and then this is what happened, okay, I mean, I get it, right? I watched No Man's Sky. Yep, it's still fucking there. It's still right there. I watched No Man's Sky where, what's his face? Who's the No Man's Sky guy?
I already forgot his name.
Sean Murray went out and promised everything under the sun, and it was like, well, technically a lot of this stuff is in the game, but not the way you thought it was going to be, because normally when a game has X, it's something different than this. It'd be like if you're like, yeah, man, our game totally has online, and it's got like leaderboards for speed runs, and it's like, oh no, wait a minute, hold on. That's not, it's like, well, technically it's online. So anyway, they had this one thing here where they said, related to that, as we talked about last year at BlizzCon, we did not want the in-game cutscenes to steer too far from the original game. We went a little deeper into the thought process behind that at the show, but the main takeaway is that the campaigns tell one of the classic stories in Warcraft history, and we want to preserve the true spirit of Warcraft 3 and allow players to relive those unforgettable moments as they were, albeit with new animations and the higher fidelity art. It's like, right, but you still have, I mean, like, this is the thing that I can't get over, is that you still have the weird prototype of that. You're
still
one
using
scene,
it to promote the game,
right, on the website. Like, it's the thumbnail for that video is one of those altered cutscenes, and I guess you could say that it's like we're in like, I've always loved that term, the bullshot territory, right, where they show you something and it's not technically what's actually in the game. I don't know, man. This just this whole thing. It goes back to what we were talking about last week of just like, what has happened over at Blizzard? Like, what is happening there? Because Blizzard used to be a company where I knew that if a Blizzard game came out, it's like Nintendo today, where I may not like Luigi's Mansion 3, but Luigi's Mansion 3 is of a quality, like Nintendo does not, I may not like Yoshi, but Yoshi's Crafted World is of a certain degree of quality, polish, fun.
So that people who do like those types of game are getting a fucking great game.
Right. So you know that you're getting, what you're getting. You're getting, it's like Nintendo's word is bond. Like, you're getting a quality game.
It's the Nintendo seal of approval.
Exactly. And it's so weird to me, because I know that a lot of people have had problems, and a lot of people have problems with like Overwatch and the way that Overwatch has gone over the years and the different heroes and the way their tournaments are run and stuff like that. I know that people have problems with Hearthstone. They changed the art on the Hearthstone cards. That was a whole thing. People had problems with Diablo 3 and the loot box thing. But I feel like this is strangely different, because it's like just kind of seems like a crappy product. Like, not up to the standards that I would expect from just anything Blizzard would put out.
Yeah, I agree.
Blizzard's the company that fucking canceled Thrall's Adventure and StarCraft Ghost and reworked Titan because they weren't of a high enough quality to put out. Yeah. And then suddenly, because this shit feels like something that like EA or Activision or like Konami would do, where they're just like, here it is, we up-res the textures, half the features are missing. Fuck you guys.
Also, your original version of the game doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Or
right.
It doesn't work. It's now this version.
Yeah. So, which is just, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing. The good news in all of this is that they have started offering refunds, and they've been very lax about those refunds. Last week we had talked about, there were a number of stories about the people getting banned on the forums for telling people how to do refunds, and then there was actually some stories that came out with like people requesting refunds and then having it denied because they had a certain amount of time played or because they were in the beta or whatever. And it seems like Blizzard has realized that no matter what, that's a bad look, and like, if you want to get a refund for Warcraft 3, you can probably do that at this point. And I would like to go one step further of encouraging people that if you don't like Warcraft 3, refund it now, as per last week's talk about demonstrating your displeasure towards companies, right?
Yeah.
Like if everybody is just like, well, I'll see if it gets better in updates. I would actually say refund the game, and then let's say a year from now it's super good. They did all the things they said, everything's back, all the bugs are worked out. Great, buy it for $30. But like that could also not happen. So I don't
get your money back now while you can.
I think that you should get your money back if you're dissatisfied.
I agree.
And that's not a Blizzard thing. That's not like a retribution thing. I'm not, this is just like my full moral philosophy is if you don't like the thing, you should get your money back for the thing that you got. Yeah. So if you got a hamburger and it tastes bad, you should be able to give it back and get your $5 back and go somewhere else. If you bought Warcraft 3 and it's bad, you should be able to get your money back, go buy, I don't know, God of War, Spider-Man, something. Put $30 towards the next gen consoles, So yeah, you can totally do that at this point. I was actually considering getting a refund myself, but I don't know. Generally, I don't like to refund that many of my games if I can stand it. Of course, I did try to refund something last week through the Xbox.
Oh yeah,
because I've never done that before, and I was like, "Hey, Xbox," because I got a game from GameFly and it didn't get here fast enough, and so I had to buy it. And then I was like, but I did get it through GameFly to keep playing it. I would like a refund, please. And they were like, no. And it was weird to me because I'm so used to Steam where you're just like, give me back my money, Steam. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because I wanted my money back. And they're just like, okay, here, fucking take your money back. Like,
so you ended up not getting the refund from Xbox?
I ended up not getting the refund.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes. But I do now have 3 retail copies of Zombie Army 4 if that information works for everybody. Because this is a little let's take a little brief aside. When I get stuff from GameFly, I want to try to make sure that I get the game. So if the game is available on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One,
and it was shipped,
I put them both in my queue.
And it shipped both of them.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, surely one will be available. Surely they won't send me both systems. And those, so this week they sent me the PS4 and the Xbox One copy of Zombie Army. So, all right. So, let's talk some more about Blizzard, but we're going to move on from Warcraft 3 to Diablo. And last week we got news that Rod Ferguson, the guy who was running the Coalition that has been doing the Gears of War franchise.
Yeah, he's been the figurehead of the Coalition and Gears since Cliffy B left.
Yeah. He is out. He's left.
Yeah.
He wasn't like fired or anything. He's left, and he's going to Blizzard to run the Diablo franchise, essentially.
Yeah, that's a weird one for me.
It really is. It doesn't. I don't know. I mean, I guess running a game studio is running a game studio. It's not like he has to go find another beefy third-person cover-based shooter to work on because that's all he knows how to do. But it is just a little strange. It also makes me wonder who the fuck is in charge of Diablo right now. Because, I mean, we've seen the trailer for Diablo 4. There's obviously some shit going on there. I don't know. I don't really know if I have an opinion about whether this is like a good thing or a bad thing or just like a thing, like a neutral thing.
I would probably say it's probably more of a neutral thing. But having said that, and this is kind of an insult and not of an insult to old Rod Ferguson, he kind of seems like a corporate yes man sometimes. As I'm happy to be here. Oh, you want me to make this change? Sure, I'll do it.
Okay.
Or I'll, not, and that's not to say that when someone says, "Oh, I'm not," and mind you, I have no basis for this accusation either.
Okay.
But he always comes off as one of those people that will toe the company line. Now, that doesn't mean he's not good at what he does and doesn't make great games because he's been involved with some pretty great games. But I also feel like he kind of toes the company line even when it's not...
Even when it doesn't make any sense to put the Terminator in Gears of War?
So it's kind of one of those things I kind of wonder if it was maybe an Activision choice or if it was something from Blizzard or something. I don't know, but it's...
I don't know. I'm so torn about Gears because I really didn't care for 4. 5 was okay.
5, while it did get decent reviews, it's not as beloved as Gears has been.
Yeah.
And I feel like this may have been less of a I'm more interested in doing this Diablo thing, so I'm going to leave and go over here, and more like he saw the writing on the wall and went, I got to get the fuck out before I'm fired.
Yeah, that's true. But John, the Gears franchise will be saved by the Funko Pop phone game of Gears of War that's coming out. I just want like a beta for that Gears Tactics game because it looks better than I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Gears, but I like me a good tactics game. So
yeah.
Speaking of people leaving places, probably the bigger news this week was that Dan Houser left Rockstar.
Yeah.
Which, if that doesn't mean anything to you, then you need to go look at the writing credits on games like Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 1, Red Dead Redemption 2, Red Dead Redemption. I don't know if he did Undead Nightmare or all the spinoffs and stuff, but he also did, I believe, he was Max Payne 3, right?
Might have been,
Dan Houser. He's been like kind of the main, like as near as I could tell, the feel of Rockstar games when it comes to like the story. I feel like a lot of that has probably come from him.
Yeah. I look at this departure as a
oh my God,
good and bad.
Holy shit! I didn't realize. I'm sorry. Just very briefly, he started writing at London 1969 and wrote GTA 2, 3.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the founding members of Rockstar.
Yeah, Vice City, San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, Bully, Grand Theft Auto 4, Midnight Club, Smuggler's Run, Lost and Damned, Ballad of Gay Tony, Red Dead Redemption, Undead Nightmare, Max Payne 3, GTA 5, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, and
so,
like his hand has been in every game that Rockstar has ever released in some form. Whether it's a producer or a writer or something.
Yep. No, he 100% is. So yeah, I don't know. This could represent like a really weird shift. I don't know if because his brother still works for Rockstar. What's his brother's name? Sam Houser. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when we eventually get like a Grand Theft Auto 6. If it just feels not quite as Grand Theft Auto-y as we're used to, I feel like that would definitely be due to Dan Houser not being there anymore. If the writing is different, because I got to be honest, I mean, like I feel like a lot of times we don't talk about it a lot, but the writing for those games, those Rockstar games, it's really good.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely great. I think and I said before, it's both a good and a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing in that a lot of his voice is in every game that Rockstar has done, and like his writing has been at the core of it. So without him, what what could he have been the thing that brought that
was
Rockstar
he the
magic?
special sauce?
And without him, it could be a thing where the games aren't as good for some reason.
Yeah,
or at least from a writing standpoint, or even a producing standpoint. I don't know. But also, it could be good in that it gives Rockstar a chance to. While even if they still make games within the same franchises, it gives them a chance to maybe
shake it up
a bit.
Yeah,
because we've talked about it before. I didn't like Grand Theft Auto 5. Like I admit it's a good game. Mechanically, it's great. Yeah. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the characters. I'm kind of over that. What Grand Theft Auto is.
Okay,
and maybe that franchise needs a shake up because the last. Since Grand Theft Auto 3 have kind of been the same game. With varying degrees.
I disagree a little bit on that.
With varying degrees of story, but they've all been kind of with the same game with different accents. And whether you agree or don't,
I disagree.
They kind of start to run together after a while.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're bad. I like the ones that I like, and I don't like the ones I don't like. But I even felt like, even though I loved Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2, those kind of also kind of have the same voice, which I'm glad because they needed to have kind of a similar voice. But I kind of want to see whatever they do next to kind of...
There's a homogeneity to the story telling in all of Rockstar's games, and you're saying you'd like to see them go out on a limb and try something a little different than what they're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, on one hand, it's a good thing, but on the other hand, it's a bad thing because it could be, like I said, he could have been the secret sauce that just tied up everything in a nice bow that just made it that extra Rockstar.
They made the Rockstar burger taste so good. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, it's going to be probably a long time until we see something else from them.
Because who knows when they're going to, because they're so focused on online.
What is it? Is it Bully 2? Is it GTA 6? Is it, anyway, well, speaking of bad things, Cliffy B has lost his goddamn mind. I don't know if you saw this, but last week on Instagram, Cliffy B went on a little bit of a rant, and I'm being honest, because he did a little edit, he did a little update, and he attributed one of the reasons that he thinks that Lawbreakers didn't break through was because it was, and I quote, too woke, John. It was too woke. That's what happened.
Here's the funny thing. Mm-hmm. You could have said video game developer says the reason Lawbreakers failed was because it was too woke, and I would have known which person that worked on that game said it. Because that sounds like a Cliffy B saying.
I gotta read some of this, man, because it's insanity what is being said here. One big epiphany I had was that I pushed my own personal political beliefs in a world that was increasingly divided. Instead of the story being, this game looks neat, it became, this is the game with the woke bro trying to push his hackney politics on us with gender-neutral bathrooms. Instead of, these characters seem fun, it was, this is the studio with the CEO who refuses to make his female characters sexier. Instead of, who am I going to choose? It became white dude shoehorns diversity in his game and then smells his own smug farts in interviews. And it goes on from there. Now, John, I'm not going to make any value judgments about whether increased diversity in games is good or bad. I personally think it's good. Whatever.
I also agree that it's good.
But regardless, did Lawbreakers seem like a super woke game that was constantly pushing its wokeness in your face to you?
I'm going to be honest, outside of that one trailer that had a fucking Ice-T doing like the narration, I don't remember anything about Lawbreakers.
Yeah, I mean...
And my disappointment finding out that Ice-T had absolutely no involvement with the game outside of that one trailer, like that was literally where my interest in the game, and it had nothing to do with anything.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, like you could make an argument that like the character designs were a little on, like the lady characters were a little bit more neutral than like super sexy, but I mean, it's not like Overwatch was made by Ninja Theory. Like we've seen plenty of games. It's not like because there aren't boobtastic ladies in the game, everybody's just like, well, fuck that game. I'm going to go play Call of Duty because of all the cleavage shots. Or I don't know. I can't remember a single article that was like, look, there are gender neutral bathrooms and Lawbreakers. Fuck that game. I'm not playing it. Like it seems like a thing where you're like, I think he might have just been watching some weird YouTubers. Because the reason I stopped playing Lawbreakers was because it wasn't as fun as Overwatch. Overwatch was more fun than Lawbreakers. They came out around the same time.
And I think the other problem with it was something you and I said when we first played it back in the old Super Awesome Video Game Show days, which is all the character silhouettes look the same.
Yep.
It is not easy to tell the characters apart.
Nope.
They all, even between male and female characters, they kind of all looked the same.
Yep.
And the difference with Overwatch was each character is
tell who they are.
Not only can you tell who they are from a silhouette, when you look at them, you get every piece of information you need to know about that character.
Yep.
From just looking in their character design.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Lawbreakers did not have that.
No, it was kind of just a cyber smoosh mess, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so strange because, like he did this and then he updated his Instagram and it said, in case I didn't make it clear, I mean that this was a factor, not the marketing timing being on PlayStation over Xbox and more were also factors. Stupid clickbait headlines. I hope you got the hits you wanted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then I just remembered, I'm sorry, John, I'm sorry. I just remembered that Cliffy B is a maniac, and you shouldn't let him talk in public because.
Oh no, I love letting him talk in public.
He talks like a crazy person.
Fucking, here's the thing. I love Cliffy B.
Yeah.
Like for this type of stuff and for his other type of stuff. Even when he's right, he's still like even when he's talking about something that he's 100% right about.
Yeah.
There's still a tinge of like, I don't know, like an air of weird ego.
Yeah.
That is kind of humorous.
Yeah.
And
it's just, I don't know. I just saw this headline last week and I was just like, what the fuck? That's not the reason Lawbreakers failed.
I mean, and I think it's also hilarious because the only other thing I could think of, I'm sitting here the entire time trying to think of, well, what other promotion or marketing or thing about Lawbreakers do I remember? Mm-hmm. I was like, well, there was that one E3 where he was on the PC gaming show to talk about Lawbreakers, and most of it was spent talking about how his wife mains Mercy and she could take out everyone.
Oh yeah, in Overwatch. Yes.
In Overwatch.
Yes.
And it's like,
yep,
dude.
Yeah.
You even promoted another game when you were supposed to be promoting your game.
Yes, sir.
So
I don't actually. There's a whole thing in here about how Lawbreakers was first on the PC, and then it was like a PS4 console exclusive, and that the Xbox fans that were fans of Cliffy B because of Gears of War felt betrayed by the fact that franchise.
I could buy that.
Maybe, but honestly, like, fucking Jeff Goldblum, life will find a way. Like, if it was a good game, it wasn't going to matter what console it was on. It was going to have, and then the whole thing
shit. Look at Warframe. I see nothing about that game, and it's still around, and it's still huge.
Yep.
And it does literally for the longest time, I knew absolutely nothing about that game. I didn't even know it existed, and then finding out how long it's been around, it's like, oh yeah, if you make a good game that people want to play, doesn't matter what platform you're on.
Mm-hmm. They'll keep playing it.
They'll keep playing it. People are playing Fallout 76.
Unfortunately, if people are playing Fallout 76, if Lawbreakers had been a good game that felt good to play, people would be playing it. So that's all I got to say. All right. So speaking of insanity, let's talk about this latest Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer.
Hey,
John's favorite topic of all time.
Nah.
I know how much you like to talk about.
I still like that it's still development footage, subject to change, and that game comes out in like 2 months.
Yeah. I think the thing about this is, okay, I mean, I kind of get it, but people are so hung up on the whole honeybee thing where Cloud dresses up like a woman. And like, I mean, I kind of get it. Like, it's such a different thing, and it's very iconic, and it's kind of part of this whole thing. But like, also, I'm kind of sick of fucking hearing about it. Also, I don't like the fact that there's a whole, like, in this trailer, there's a whole montage where they put on makeup and put him in the stuff. And it just looks like Cloud it looks like you took Cloud's head, put it on a girl body, and then glued 2 pigtails to the side of his head. Like, he's still got all the dumb spikes. They're like putting on makeup. It doesn't look like he's wearing any makeup. I don't know. Maybe it's different in the real game, but like, Cloud is an ugly woman. Or I don't know. The Cloud hairstyle does not scream, hello,
well,
ladies.
How else would you know it's Cloud if he didn't have the Cloud hairstyle?
Because you controlling him because of the character. I don't know. I don't know. It just looks like they took. It looks like somebody chopped off Cloud's head and glued it onto a lady body sprite. So outside of that, I mean, I think that we're kind of in agreement with the whole like. This week, let me take a different tack here. This week they put Final Fantasy 15 on Game Pass, and it's got everything. It's the Royal Edition. It's got all the different episodes, all the DLC, and everything.
Nice.
I am downloading it currently, and I've been thinking about being like, all right, let's see what this game is now that it's fully finished, because I really didn't care for 15, and I think that when I was watching this, I was like, this trailer looks good. So did the trailers for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
They looked very good.
Hell, even the demos and everything made you and I both were like, oh man, we both want to play this.
Yeah, looks good. And then it came out and it was like, oh no. So, I mean, it's very pretty. But as far as, in my opinion, that means nothing at this point. I will know once the game comes out. I'm not prejudging it. I'm not saying I think it's going to be bad, but I am saying that, like, hyped either. I just want to play it.
Yeah.
See.
So I will say this. I still stand by my statement that Final Fantasy VII is the most overhyped video game in the history of video games.
And what about Lawbreakers, John?
Yeah, I stand by my statement.
Okay,
it is the hype of that. I get why it's overhyped, but it is way overhyped, and people bitching about wanting a remake and HD or whatever is just the fucking worst. And the fact that they're getting it, hey, that's great, fine, whatever. I kind of wish Square had not said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then went at like this year's E3 or whatever, that like never announced it, never showed any trailers or footage, went, here's the trailer for this new we're doing the remake and it's going to be a part 1 of however many, and here's the trailer,
and it's out
next week,
right?
Because
that would have been big.
That would have been big.
Huge.
That would have been huge.
It would have been huge.
Or even if they didn't want to do that, release a trailer that said, "Oh, here's the new thing from," just release a trailer online that says, "Oh, here's the new thing from Square Enix. It's a remake of this," and it comes out next week. Because I'm kind of at a point where I'm just like, just fucking release the game. I don't give a shit.
Well, Square also, in my opinion at least, Square over trailers, over hypes. I mean, there were like 3 or 4 trailers for the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC that came out last week, and it was just like, Jesus Lord, guys, just like put out a trailer, put out the game. Like you can go around the whole bend to the point where you've gotten me excited, and then I see it so much that I'm like not excited anymore.
Yeah.
Rockstar used to buy out like every single YouTube pre-roll when they put out a game, and so I feel like in the lead up, like the month before Red Dead 2 came out, I was sick of seeing Red Dead 2 trailers in front of every single video. But then I also have that thing where like, if you tell me to get excited about a thing, I'm like, no, you're not my boss. There's this YouTube ad about some guy selling some kind of soap, and he comes out just like to soap shame me, tell me how my soap is terrible.
And you look at him and go, you're not my real father.
And I say, fuck you. And it's like, you won't believe how bad your soap is for you. And I'm like, I will shower with fucking steel wool before I buy any of your shit, you condescending asshole. Hate that soap guy. I hate him so much. Anyway, back to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. But like I don't think it's a bad thing that they're making it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Just release the fucking thing so all the weebs out there can get their Final Fantasy VII and in HD with new graphics and new mechanics and be happy about it.
Well, then in that case, I think we should move on from this trailer to the Final Fantasy VII news that I have.
God damn it.
Which is, this is just a very brief thing, and this is kind of a PSA for everybody, but Square announced that the Final Fantasy VII Remake has an exclusivity deal on the PlayStation 4 of 1 year of exclusivity, and they're clarifying that by backing the release up from March to April, that has also backed up the timer on the 1 year of exclusivity to April. So if you're looking to play it on the PC or whenever other console it comes out on, it will not be until April of 2021 instead of March of 2021. So,
wah, wah.
There you go. All right, let's talk about some stuff that you might actually care about.
Yes, I do care about this a lot. I also have a really weird memory about this game that is a thing, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah. So last week, Platinum Games just sprung a Kickstarter for a Switch version of Wonderful 101, a Wii U game that they put out,
which is fucking great,
very highly regarded.
Yeah, it was.
And it, let's see, I got their Kickstarter up here. They were looking to get like, it was like $50,000 to do this port from the Wii U code to the Switch code. They got $1.4 million.
Yeah. Well, they even said like, hey, and if we reach these stretch goals, at this point we'll release a PC version of the game.
Yep.
And at this
PS4.
one we'll do a PS4 because Nintendo gave them the rights back. Like they got the rights back from Nintendo.
Yep.
Because it didn't sell very well because it was on the fucking Wii U.
Of course.
Also, it came out the same week as Grand Theft Auto 5, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Very vividly, because I got made fun of by Jason on one of your videos for it.
In any case, This is good news.
Yeah.
This is very good news.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I'm excited. This is a great game. I'm excited to be able to play it again on a console that I actually want to play it on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited that other people are going to get to experience it for the first time because I think it is a very. I remember when we went to before the Wii U came out, and you, me, Amanda, and another friend of mine did the Wii U experience thing. And they were showing off different games that were going to be released on the Wii U, and Wonderful 101 was one of them.
Okay.
And I played the demo for it, and it was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I can't wait till this comes out because I'm going to play the fuck out of this game. And then it came out, and I played it, and I probably got about halfway through it, and because it's on the Wii U, and Wii U was not the great.
Harder to play. It's just, it wasn't very fun to play on the Wii U. I don't know.
But I'm excited that it's coming to the Switch, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's
like a whole touch screen.
There was,
like, to make the different formations with the different characters.
There was, and apparently some of those touch screen stuff is still going to be on the Switch version.
Oh, okay.
Well,
if you're playing with the Pro Controller,
well, if you're playing it like in handheld mode, or like on the Switch Lite, you still have like the touch screen stuff.
Sure,
but there also is going to be a non-touch screen version of it.
Good. That's what I'd rather play. So this also brought up a bunch of other interesting questions about Platinum games.
Yeah.
Well, first off, Platinum has a thing on their website with just the number 4, and people are thinking that that's going to indicate that there are 4 announcements that are going to be coming out from them in the next few days, weeks, months, whenever, and that this was one of them. One of the other things, there was very briefly a note where somebody at Platinum said that they would like to finish Scalebound, but that was shut down, and saying that, like, they don't own the rights to Scalebound. Microsoft owns the rights to Scalebound.
So there was an interview about the Kickstarter project, and the interviewer said, "What about Scalebound? Would this be one of those projects that you're doing?" And they're like, "Oh no, we don't own that. We have no control over that."
Yep.
Literally, when Microsoft shelved it, they took everything away from us. We have no access to that code. We have no access to that game. It is 100% Microsoft's to do whatever they want with.
And then the other question seemed to be, well, we're going into Kickstarter territory. I feel like a lot of Platinum stuff has gotten pushed away, pulled back, shelved. Been a lot of weird shaking up going on over there. You know, the whole development saga of Bayonetta was very strange. Then there was that Ninja Trolls game that wasn't very good, and but they were asking essentially, do you think that you all will be crowdfunding games like from here on out? And they said no, that this was the Wonderful 101 was kind of like a test to gauge interest, to see how interested people were in them putting stuff out. But a lot of their other games belong to publishers, right? Like they don't just have access to do stuff, so that they will maybe use this as one form of revenue, but then also be working on things directly for publishers. Because there's another game, I can't remember what the game is, that we had a trailer for just like a couple months ago that was just like, it was like a fantasy thing, and it had a very Devil May Cry looking combat system, and like no information beyond that.
I do vaguely remember that. The other thing about the Wonderful 101 thing is that if I'm not mistaken, once the Kickstarter ends, it comes out like 2 or 3 months later.
Oh yeah?
Well, like it's like literally funded, here's your physical copies.
I mean, also there's like a shitload of tiers for like the diorama, keychain, figure. There's like a lot of physical rewards going on in there.
Yeah. But also, one of my favorite rewards on there is that the project director of Wonderful 101 will tweet at you a comment and then permanently block you on Twitter.
Yeah. That's the kind of, is that what you guys need for fundraising? Because I could block you on Twitter if that's a fundraising goal. Like,
but I also like that in the description it's like, by the way, this tweet and block thing is optional. Is optional.
Yeah.
You do not have to be tweet and blocked.
Yeah. Is it? Oh yeah, Astral Chain was them. I keep forgetting that. Wait, they make Star Fox Zero?
Yeah, well, they worked on it they made Star Fox Zero.
Okay. It's kind of one of these. Grand Blue Fantasy, Relink, Lost Order, Babylon's Fall. I think
it was Babylon's Fall.
Babylon's Fall?
I think that might have been it.
I don't know. It's Platinum Games is a weird company. Like, I don't know. I don't like all of their games, but I do like, but the ones that I like a lot.
Yeah,
and the ones that I don't like, I'm just I could care
less.
The
games that they make that you end up liking a lot for whatever for various reasons. Yeah. Sometimes it's the gameplay, sometimes it's something completely different.
All right, we're gonna speed it up a little bit because we're running a little late here.
All right.
Rumor time. There's a rumor out there that Telltale is working on Tales from the Borderlands 2 as well as Poker Night 3. This comes from a pretty decent source. That's got to be very exciting for the people who like the Tales from everybody that I know that played Tales from the Borderlands was like, this is the best one. You should play this one. It's the funniest one they put out.
Yeah.
And then you have the people that played the Wolf Among Us, and they're like, this is the best one. This is the one that you should play. Don't play any of the rest of them. It's funny. I can really see this happening because I feel like Gearbox is making bank out of Borderlands, and that they would be more than willing to shove a little cash over towards the 8 people that make up Telltale or however many are left to do this. I didn't really care for Poker Night.
I played the first one.
Yeah, Poker Night at the dispensary or whatever that was called.
Yeah,
the first one was like a Valve thing, wasn't it?
It had Valve characters. It also had like Poker Night 1 had Penny Arcade's Tycho, if I remember correctly. It had
the Heavy.
It had the Heavy. It had like a bunch of different other characters. And if I remember, Poker Night 2 had Brock Sampson from Ash Williams.
Yeah, and Claptrap and Sam Max.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're into those games, you will be having a good time at some point in the future. Speaking of rumors, last week we had the rumor about the Silent Hill 2 games that we've been hearing about.
Yeah.
But apparently there's an actual Silent Hill and Fatal Frame movies. There is a Silent Hill movie and a Fatal Frame movie that are both like in the works.
In the works by the same director,
yes,
or producer or something.
Yeah, director Christopher Gans apparently is working on both of those. I will believe it when I see it.
Well, I mean, there's 2 Silent Hill movies already.
Yes,
I actually liked the first one. I know a lot of people didn't, but I liked it.
It was all
I didn't
right.
watch the second one, though. I've heard it's not bad. I actually heard the second one's better than the first one.
Yeah. First one was that thing where Pyramid Head rips that lady's skin off. That was pretty metal. A lot of it's weird because the first one had Sean Bean in it, right?
It's so did the second one.
Oh, okay.
Well, if I remember correctly, the first one is one of the few movies Sean Bean doesn't die in.
Yeah, he's like trying to find his wife, and she went to Silent Hill to get their kid or some such nonsense.
And then if I'm not mistaken, the second one is like his continuing story after the first one. I could be wrong. I've never saw the second one, so I don't know. But yeah, the first one had Sean Bean as like the father trying to figure out what happened to his wife and daughter.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess it kind of depends, but why can't they just? I just want the games. I just want a good Silent Hill game. I'm not really even that invested in the Silent Hill franchise, but it just seems like they've been dithering for a decade, and it's just like something.
As far as Fatal Frame goes, you know what? I'm down for a Fatal Frame movie. Do it.
Yep. I'm so down for Fatal Frame that I'm playing it with your wife. So, yeah. From there, we had a very brief thing where there was a guy that was the guy that leaked information about the Nintendo Switch, who basically fished and hacked into Nintendo to get information before it was public. Apparently he did it like a couple of times because like the FBI came to his house and they were like, you got to stop or you're going to jail. And then he didn't stop. And so they sent him to jail. So now he's in jail.
Yeah.
So don't hack Nintendo. You will go to jail. Also, he apparently had a bunch of child pornography. So like that doesn't have anything to do with hacking Nintendo, but don't hack Nintendo. It'll be fine.
Maybe is this a conspiracy? It turns out Nintendo put the child pornography there just to implicate him more. Probably not. I'm joking. The guy's probably a piece of shit.
The thing is, John, that 5 years ago, I feel like I would have gone way down the rabbit hole with you on this joke. But in the world in which we live, I feel like that's too close to something that somebody would actually believe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's like the guy is probably a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In brighter Nintendo news, Nintendo says that there's not going to be a new Switch model this year.
Of course.
But of course they would say that. There was some
That's
rumors.
what they want you to think.
That's right.
At E3.
They put child porn. No. There was a there was a Taiwanese blog last week that said there was going to be an upgraded version of the Switch with a slightly larger screen and a slightly better processor. There was a rumor about that was swirling around a couple of weeks back. Nintendo said, no, that's not true. But everybody, we know that like Nintendo will say, no, that's not true right up until the point when they announce that it's an actual thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like if they had a refresh this year, the problem is hardware refresh on the Switch. I mean, if they upgrade to like a different processor, I don't know. It seems like it'd be a little bit more like
they technically already did one hardware refresh on the Switch. Like there was one where they actually did, so this wouldn't be the first. If they did another one, this wouldn't be the first time they've done it.
I think that what people are thinking about is like a Switch XL or a new Nintendo Switch, that kind of refresh, not just like a Rev refresh. But considering like the Xbox and the PS4 are just PC guts, I feel like they're a lot easier to upgrade than the Switch is. So let's see. From there, I got too many news stories because I thought that we weren't going to go through them faster. So NVIDIA has a game streaming service called GeForce Now. If you have been interested in the Stadia, but you don't want to pay money, the GeForce Now was in beta for a while, and as of today, it is, and 3 days ago, by the time you're listening to this, it is out of beta. Anybody can go play it. And there's a free version where all you have to do is create a GeForce account, say free version. The free version does make you wait in a queue to get in your game, and you can only play for an hour at a time. But what this does that Stadia doesn't is it hooks into your Steam account, and then it asks you, like, they have a list of the games that are compatible with it, but if you own that game on Steam, you can, like, give it authorization. You basically pull up their virtual computer, log into your Steam account, put in the code that Steam sends you, and then you can install that game because you already own it. They also have several free-to-play games, like they have Path of Exile and Culinary Wars and a few different things on there. I booted up earlier today. It ran like garbage on my computer. That could just be because my internet's slow and my computer is crappy. But they do have a premium version that gets you a little bit faster speeds, a little bit. You don't have to wait in the queues because they have literally like a thing where there's a free one where you have to wait in a queue to get access to a computer that you can log into. That is $5 a month. And you get 90 days free, and then you can lock in $5 a month for, I think it's like a year before that's like the Founders Edition. So instead of paying like $130 for the Founders Edition, you get 90 days free, and then you pay $5 a month. So if you've ever wanted to check out the streaming thing, you got a Steam library, and there's also, like I said, some free-to-play stuff in there. I tried this. It's real easy to do. So I feel like everybody should give it a shot if you're into that. Let's see. Ubisoft's putting out a bunch of games. I don't want to do this one. Let's talk about some trailers. We got a trailer for The Wastelanders. We got an official Fallout 76 Wastelanders trailer.
Why do we keep talking about this?
John, are you psyched? Are you psyched?
I have never been psyched for Fallout 76.
No?
Since the moment it was announced, I have never in my life been excited for this title.
John, but what if I told you that they were going to be putting Final Fantasy VII NPCs into the Fallout 76?
You just made me less excited for the game.
This trailer makes it look like a really bad Fallout game. So I think I'm waiting for when they announce that you can play on a solo server and that there's like turn-based VATs that you can do on a solo server, and then it just becomes Fallout 5. That it's just, just slowly but surely take everything out of this game that made it what it is.
And then turn it into a single-player game?
Turn it into a single-player game and resell it to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They keep trying to make this thing. The reason I keep talking about it is because they keep trying. They keep trying to make this thing a thing, and I don't think it's going to be. I think that the best version of Fallout 76 is still not really a game that I'd be interested in playing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Even if it ran like butter, it was written by the New Vegas guys, and it was like great. I'm still just not that interested in playing an RPG where there's some jackass bunny hopping through the back of my cutscene when I'm trying to have a moment with somebody, or somebody's running up. At some point you have to ask yourself, like, if it's easy enough to ignore everybody else in the server, what was the point of making it a multiplayer game to begin with? Question mark. So, but we'll be finding out in April. We also got a trailer for Southpaw Regional Wrestling DLC for WWE 2K20?
Yeah.
John, are you now super excited for WWE 2K20?
I mean, this was out of all the DLC that they announced, this was the one I was actually most excited for. Because for those who don't know, back I want to say 2-3 years ago or whatever, maybe longer, WWE put out a video online on YouTube called Southpaw Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's the wrestlers taking up like kind of weird 80s gimmicks, and they're not themselves, they're these other characters. And there's no wrestling in it. It's all promos and commentators, talking about going from scene to scene. And it was really popular. It was really well done.
Okay.
And they did a sequel to it eventually, and the sequel was really well done and great. And it all it's what I would say is do a search for Southpaw Championship Wrestling on YouTube, and actually watch those, because they're highly entertaining. And it's one of the best online only things that WWE has ever done.
Okay. And this is basically a cosmetic pack of the stuff that people wore, kind of the aesthetic of that.
It's that aesthetic,
skit.
The aesthetic of that skit, little video or whatever. But and it's, I don't know, it's also just kind of, the game is so fucking broken.
Yeah.
Still, from what I understand, it's playable, I guess, but the game is so I don't care at this point. I'll probably load it up once this actually gets.
Oh yeah, because you bought the full version.
Oh yeah. I'll probably load it up once the DLC gets released. And I'll probably play through all the little story things that they have, because it does have a whole story mode kind of thing, and challenge towers and stuff like that to unlock all the stuff in the game for the game. And I'll probably play all that just to kind of play it, just to experience it, and because I really enjoyed the what it's based on. But at the same time, I don't care.
Fair enough. Well, I'll tell you what I care about, and that is Florence, which people may or may not remember was this indie game that came out in 2018 on cell phones, and it was highly regarded as this wonderful, beautiful little game, but it was only available on cell phones. I don't play games on cell phones. But we got a release date trailer that they're putting Florence out on the Switch in February.
Well, that's good.
It looks really good. I mean,
hopefully it's reasonably priced.
Yeah, it won a whole crap ton of awards, and I really didn't want to play it, but I really did not want to play it on a cell phone. So I'm looking forward to this one, because it has a real nice art style.
Yeah,
I like the kind
of looks good,
sketchy art style. We also, and finally, we had a trailer for Table Manners, which is a surgery simulator, but you're on a date, basically. Which looks pretty incredible, and it's coming out on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's
just in time. And not only that, but the company that's putting it out is doing this weird promo where they're teaming up with the National Health Service in England to promote giving blood, donating blood, with some information in the game that basically is just hey, go donate your blood, and then hey, what type are you? If you're type O positive, we need that. That's the universal donor. Go do it. I don't know if O positive is universal donor. Please don't use this podcast for your medical diagnosis. We're not medical professionals, but I'm all for it. That's great. Yeah, it's a good thing.
I mean, the game looked fun. I saw the trailer. I remember the first trailer we saw for it, and I thought it looked fun.
Yeah, I definitely would be down for it.
It definitely looks like one of those games you would play on either you and somebody else, or you and myself, you and anyone else here on the site would play, and it would be a fun. Doesn't matter who it is. It'd be a fun, stupid video.
I don't know. We just got through Speaking Simulator. Speaking Simulator kind of raised the bar a little bit on that particular weird control, messed up thing. So, all right, let's do a few more, and then we're out of here. Bleeding Edge is going to be getting their beta on February 14th.
Nice.
So for anybody who forgot, that's the Ninja Theory multiplayer weirdo thing. It's going to be on Game Pass on the Xbox. The first thing they're doing for Microsoft.
It's like Melee Overwatch.
Yeah. If you're playing Children of Morta, which I am, Children of Morta this week added a new difficulty mode, new enemies, and just some free stuff. They revised the UI a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I loaded it up. I actually just beat Children of Morta this morning. It was funny because I was having trouble with the last boss, and I was reading online. I was like, who's the best character to use for this? And they were like, just as long as you don't use this one, who was my favorite character. And I was like, well, fuck you, buddy. And then I went and beat the game with my favorite character. So Jonah Morta is great. It was really a fun game. Tell you what else is a fun game? Double Dragon. And apparently Double Dragon, they're putting out a Double Dragon anthology for the PS4 and the Switch this month.
Okay.
And this has Double Dragon 1, Double Dragon 2, Double Dragon 3, and then like 11 other games, I believe, which are all the Kunio-kun franchise, River City Ransom. Well, it's got like Super Dodgeball, River City Ransom, Renegade, like all those games, as well as a whole bunch that have never actually been localized.
Aren't those all supposed to be part of the same Double Dragon like universe, like world? Like they're technically, it's like been like they were developed with the idea that they all take place in the same world, but like it was never like a spoken thing.
I think so, but I don't know. But yeah, we're getting Neketsu Fighting Legend, Neketsu High School Dodgeball Club, Soccer Story, and Go-Go.
I knew the dodgeball game and the River City Ransom were in the same universe.
Yeah, because they have all the same sprite.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same characters.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in that, it is coming out. I don't know. Was it just for a specific release date? Sometime in February, in a couple weeks. Let's see. Nintendo is putting out a special edition Animal Crossing.
Yeah, actually, it's a neat little Switch. If you don't have one, and you like Animal Crossing, it's definitely one I would.
Yeah, it's got some real kind of summer colors to it.
Yeah,
kind of sea foam and a dock with a bunch of Tom Nooks on it. So
yeah,
I mean, can't they just sell that Tom Nook dock? I feel like you could buy the Tom Nook dock and then the two controllers, and then you wouldn't have to get like an entirely different Switch in order to. I mean, it's not like the pieces that they changed are the pieces that can be easily swapped out on any Switch, and I know what's in that dock. Nothing. It's like a piece of plastic with like 3 wires in it. So, but yeah, if you don't have a Switch yet, you can go get one of these.
I think it also comes with like a carrying case as well.
Little leaf carrying case. That's the good news about Animal Crossing. We got a weird bad news about Animal Crossing where apparently you can only have one island per copy of Animal Crossing on your Switch.
Oh, no.
Like, if you switch between different users on your Switch, they're all going to the same place. Like, the one copy of Animal Crossing that you have equals one island.
Oh, no.
Which seems like a really weird restriction.
That is a weird restriction. I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily Amanda and I both have our own Switches, so that's not a problem. Having said that, I know Amanda's going to play that game, the shit out of that game. I'm probably never going to play it.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like a really weird. It just seems like a really weird thing.
Yeah.
It just seems like a really weird thing. One Nintendo Switch and one copy of the game is required for each unique island, is the quote from Nintendo. So
it's a weird way to word it.
Weird. I wonder if that means it's going to be saved on the cartridge too, right? So if you move yours to another system?
I don't think that's what it's saying. I think it's just the whatever save file is on the system, that is save files for all users.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is what it says. And then finally, just a couple quick things. Apparently, somebody out there is trying to restore the original. A modder is trying to restore the original lighting of Dark Souls 2. I don't know if you remember, John, but when Dark Souls 2 was originally announced, lighting was going to play a big, huge role in the game. There's going to be a lot more
I vaguely remember some stuff about that.
Yep, lightness and darkness. And then when Dark Souls 2 came out, it ended up looking just kind of very flat in the lighting. There was a whole demo of like the whole idea was that in Dark Souls a lot of times you have a shield in one hand and a sword in the other hand, but that you were going to have areas where you had to have a torch in one hand in order to make it more difficult because you couldn't carry both at the same time.
Yeah,
kind of like the there's that level in Dark Souls 1, Tomb of the Giants, where you have to be holding a light in order to see any amount in front of you. But apparently there's a modder out there. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he does have a Twitch channel. It's called Stayd, Stayd, that is trying to essentially mod the lighting to give it a more dynamic look and then to maybe bring back some of the darker areas that were supposed to be in the game. Which just goes to show, doesn't matter how long Dark Souls is out, people are still going to be doing fucking weird shit with it.
Yeah.
I cut the story about how they were in the Bloodborne files and they found a whole separate intro dialogue that never happened, and that the guy in the wheelchair that wakes you up was supposed to be an NPC that had a whole quest chain, and they cut that all out. And that's why he's so weird looking, is because he was supposed to be a character, but they just never got around to finishing it.
Huh.
And last but not least, talking about modding and talking about different stuff, there was a video that somebody made where somebody made a weird PlayStation 1 version of what they think The Last of Us 2 is going to be like in dreams. So I don't know how meta we're talking here.
That's interesting.
A PS1 demake of a PS4 game that isn't out yet, made in a PS4 game that comes out next week.
I thought it was out already.
No, it's in early access right now.
I thought it came out of early access like last month.
Nope. It comes out next week out of early access, and then 3 days early if you have the pre-order.
Weird. I thought it was in January.
Yep. Yeah, this is really strange. It's also strange because we don't know anything about what happens in Last of Us 2, right? So it's all conjecture, this level, and they made some little puzzles, and they made it very much look like an old PlayStation 1 game. So I don't know. If you got Dreams, maybe go check that out and see how it is.
I will say, people are making some really amazing things in Dreams, and I'm constantly like, I want to play Dreams. I want to see if I can make something. But it's also one of those things that I feel like I would sit there and I'd be like amazed at everything you can do, and then I would start to mess around, and then I would get bored and I would walk away from it.
Yep.
And then I'd never touch the game ever again.
Yeah, I feel like if you really want to make something into, like, you maybe do, like, I feel like if you want to make something in Dreams, John, that you should come up with that thing ahead of time. That way you have like a goal instead of just being like, I'm just going to mess around and see what I can make. And it's like, I made a monster. I'm bored now. I'm going to Taco Bell.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's one of those games that I would like try to like actually sit down and learn, and then eventually I'd be like, you know what, no, this is too much. I have neither the time nor the skill to deal with this.
Yeah. And that's the news for this week. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer your questions. So stick around and we'll see you in just a moment.
Hey,
John.
Yes.
Questions.
I'm ready.
You even let me do it. You even let me do the bit. I had a whole thing.
Oh.
I had a whole thing ready.
I ruined it.
And John's just ready over here.
Yeah, I ruined it.
God damn it. MailRageSelect.com is the goddamn email address. Sending your questions to. And our first question this week comes in from Chris. Chris writes in and says, Hey, Jeff and John. Chris here. Normally I like to ask fun questions, but not this time.
Oh, shit.
I don't know if you heard, NBA player Kobe Bryant died along with his 13-year-old daughter, 7 others in a helicopter crash.
Very tragic.
Came back from a time ago. Yep. Normally, when a celebrity dies, I take a minute to reflect on their life, and if I followed them, continue on with my life. But this time was different. My first love in life is basketball, not video games, not movies, not comics, basketball. And since age 8, I've always paid attention to the Lakers since my dad was a fan and always watched Kobe Bryant. In 2009, my dad passed away. I was very sad and a dark time in my life. Kobe helped me get through it, especially after watching him win the championship in June of 2012. So this isn't just another athlete or celebrity to me. Kobe is literally my childhood hero. When I heard the news on Sunday, I was at Cheddar's eating with a friend, saw the Facebook report. My first thought was denial, and I watched the news about it. I'm not an emotional person, but after 10 minutes of thinking, I just broke down crying. I've cried like 4 times. Can't stop thinking about it. I'm so devastated and sad for him and everyone on the helicopter and all the families and friends involved. So a few questions. Is this normal that I'm so broken up about Kobe dying, even though I'd never met him? I didn't even cry this much for my grandparents that died around 75 and 85. And do you have any advice about how to properly handle this? When my dad died, I kept all my emotions in, and it was not good for me. Sorry for a long post. I know you don't really care about the story, but I'm hurting, and you're my favorite YouTubers for like 6 years now. Thanks. And that's from Chris. So
I think to answer the first question, yes, it's perfectly normal. That's
100%.
You know, your emotions aren't like a binary. Like this will make you cry. This shouldn't make you cry. Like there is like there will be things that will be extremely tragic that you won't like cry over. Not because you don't feel bad, but just because you don't cry over.
Yeah.
And there'll be stuff that will be like not even really that big of a deal that will just emotionally it hits you.
Yeah.
And when it comes to death, I don't care if it's your best friend, a relative, or someone you are a fan of that's a celebrity, or just someone you just heard a story about, and they're like, this person died, and here's the story of their life, and then that makes you cry. It doesn't matter. Death is a sad thing. It's something that if it the story of their life, whatever context that you know about it, if it impacted you, it impacts you. And that's not something to be sad about. That's not something to be afraid of or think that you should bottle up or anything like that. It's
you can be sad.
Yeah.
Somebody used to tell me all the time, feel your feelings. Yeah. So you got them, and it's a lot of times better to. I don't really. I mean, I guess there's some cases where inappropriate feelings can sometimes be difficult for people.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases, learning to work through what you're feeling, as opposed to just being like, nope, I don't feel anything. We're just going to push all that down. I don't know. I generally don't think that comes out well in the end.
No,
I don't think
that
denying your own emotions is a great thing at the end of the day. I think that it can cause you a lot of problems. I'm not really super. I'm kind of with you where I don't. A lot of the celebrity stuff doesn't affect me, and as Chris here was saying as well. But I mean, I do remember when I heard that David Bowie died, and for me, that was just. I don't know why, but it was just for me. It was unfathomable that David Bowie wasn't here anymore. It was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, so yeah. I mean, I think that we all have a different kind of perspective on some stuff like that. And yes, it is 100% normal to feel bad. I generally am not in the habit of telling people that they have to justify what they feel when they feel it. Just feel what you feel. As far as how to handle it, that's a little bit trickier because when we have people in our own lives, I feel like there's a lot more. We have the mechanisms, things like mourning and funerals and stuff like that we engage in as a way of processing those emotions. It's kind of rituals that allow us to kind of publicly show our emotions, work through some stuff, lean on each other for support. I think it's a little bit different when you're dealing with somebody who's as far removed from you as like this, right? Or somebody who's not directly in your life. I would honestly say though that I'm a real big fan of professional mental health professionals, shall I say? So if you find like a counselor or a therapist, or even just like a good friend to talk to about this stuff and just to kind of like work through it, I feel like one of the better ways to deal with your own emotions is to find somebody that you trust that is willing to share that load with you and then talk about it with them instead of just keeping it.
I agree.
Like, I think just talking about everything in general is better than.
I agree. 100%.
This is not anything like this, but I found that when I wasn't single, when I was living with somebody, I used to feel a lot more consternation about like mean internet comments, right? And that it was a lot less. I felt like it was that feeling was lessened when I had somebody that I was close to be like, people are being mean to me, and they'd be like, well, fuck those people, you're awesome, and I'd be like, hey, I feel better now, so
sorry, we just perpetuate what they say about you on the internet here on the show.
Hey, hey, man, I got different coping mechanisms now, but I feel like there's a universal thing about talking with people that you trust.
No, definitely.
Sharing your experiences with other people, just in saying things out loud that you feel in a lot of ways can kind of lighten the burden a little bit.
Also, writing it down. That's something else that, if you don't feel like you can honestly talk to somebody about it, keep a journal. Mm-hmm. Like, that's honestly that's something I just get it out of your system one way or another.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the best. Excuse me a second.
John's sneezing today.
Yeah, that's the best advice I can give. Outside, I think the best advice, period, is talk to someone. Doesn't matter if it's a mental health professional. Doesn't matter if it's just a friend who also is saddened by. Maybe they may not be as saddened as you are, but they understand how you feel about it and are willing to talk to you about it. Talk to them about it. Get it out. Kind of work. Just to talk about it, whether it's a friend, a professional, and if you don't have either of those, like let's say you can't afford to go to a mental health professional,
sure,
and you don't have a friend that you feel that comfortable talking with. write it down in a journal and just get it on paper, get those thoughts out of your head, and don't like oh, how should I structure this? Just stream of conscious, just write,
whatever you feel,
write, and then what you do with that writing afterwards, that's entirely up to you. But the biggest thing is getting it out of your system. And working through it as you're
just expressing it,
right? Expressing and writing it down and just kind of going through the motions of experience, realizing your thoughts, of understanding your thoughts through that process. I mean that's are we what we're saying here the be all end all of everything you can do? No.
Oh, good Lord, no.
Good Lord, no.
There are only 1 million. I mean, this is only something that humanity has been struggling with since its inception. So, the other thing to remember, of course, is that all grief, all pain, and all that stuff, it fades over time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a thing you have to just wait it out, and things get better as you get further from a situation.
And I know, like for. Not to speak on someone else's behalf, but I know, like for Amanda, when Carrie Fisher died, that was a big thing for her. Like that impacted her very badly. And not because of Star Wars. That's one of my favorite things. Is she was a fan of Carrie Fisher, the person, the author, and the other movies that she starred in. Didn't really give two shits about Star Wars,
right?
And one of the way, and I'm not saying this is what you should do, but one of the ways that she dealt with it was she ended up getting a tattoo of a quote from Carrie Fisher that she's always kind of tried to live by, which is "Stay afraid and do it anyways." Stay afraid, but do it anyways. And she got that tattooed on her arm because it was kind of one of her coping mechanisms. Was kind of a way to immortalize this person who impacted her life in a way that had meaning, and so that she could always carry something with her on her skin in regards to that. Now, there's probably more to it that I'm not even aware of in regards to that, and more stuff that she's done other than just that to deal with it. And I'm not saying you should go get a tattoo, because that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying there are many different ways to deal with it. All of them are valid, regardless if there's someone you never knew about, you never met, but you clearly idolize this. You idolized Kobe Bryant for his basketball skills, and he, as far as his skills on the court and everything, definitely he's one of the best. I am not a huge sports person. We made the joke at the beginning of the show of like, oh, the Super Bowl is still a thing. I joke about that. I understand sports. I've played sports. The one sport outside of hockey that I've ever played was basketball. Okay. So I understand, like I understand the impact a player can have on on you as a person, and an inspiration that they can be. So don't think that just because you never met them that you shouldn't be impacted by their passing or their death. And especially when it's a tragic one. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Just do something is kind of the end of this. All right. Jonathan writes in and says, hey, Jeff and John. First time contacting, so here goes. As an older console user, still have a PS3 and have always been behind on the tech, I am looking to finally upgrade to enjoy this generation's games. I'm caught between a Switch, with all the costs associated with games and accessories, and a PS4, once on sale after the next gens come out later this year. I don't think I'll use Game Pass enough to make an Xbox worth it. As a dad that only plays a few times a month, if that, what's a mix of some of the best games that I've missed that are easy to pick up and play after stints of downtime? My list currently includes Into the Breach, Darkest Dungeon, Earth Defense Force, Link's Awakening, etc. That's a very esoteric list. As an aside, outside of Patreon, I'm thinking of what's the best way to support the channel? Avid watcher of the videos and listener of the podcast. Cheers, and that's from Jonathan. I cannot say how important at this point it basically is on the second point for people to share stuff out on social media, mostly because I talk about this all the time. I have no idea. The hits on our videos on Rage Select are definitely down. The subscriber count is not down. The Patreon numbers are kind of where they've been. I mean, they kind of fluctuate a little bit, like up and down.
But the thing is that it's not like I feel like there hasn't been like just a big drop off, but suddenly the YouTube videos aren't getting any hits, and I'm not sure whether that's because people are tired of rage select or whether it's because YouTube. I refuse to not swear. I refuse to not swear on my show, and whether if the thumbnails are not as eye-catching as some of the things that other people do. I don't use clickbait titles. It's just like, here's the game. We're going to play it. We're going to try to make some jokes and then get on with our life. So I have no idea if the dip is people if it's just YouTube not serving that up because we don't fit into the algorithm, or whether it's that people don't want to watch anymore. Either way is fine. Well, now, if people don't want to watch anymore, that's fine. I take a little bit of issue with the idea that just because that if somebody hits a subscribe button that they're not getting the videos that we put out. So.
I mean, the big thing's to support the channel, and it's cliche and it's almost mockingly cliche, but the whole like, comment, subscribe is there because those things do actually impact the videos. Liking a video, commenting on a video, clicking on the bell, those things are all. And the most important thing, and I think this is the thing that a lot of people don't remember, is exactly what you just said. Share that video. Go on to Twitter and be like, holy shit, this video is hilarious. People should watch it on your Twitter, on your Facebook,
And you know what? And I've always said this. If I would say that it's like, because I'm guilty of the same thing. When I watch a video on YouTube that I like, I don't share it. I don't hit the thumbs up button. I'm even bad about this myself. But like, if you liked a video, share it. Right? If you thought the game that we played was interesting, share it. Like, I'm not saying share everything.
Yeah.
Like,
no. Share if you hated a video, don't share it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want the videos you hate to be out there like that. If anything, that's a good barometer of telling us what's good and what's not. Is a bunch of people are sharing this one video, but they're not sharing this other one. There's probably a reason.
Right. So, yeah, that's really the best thing that you could do, because I feel like in a lot of ways we're at a point now, and I can even see it with other types of videos on YouTube, that like the type of video that we make on YouTube is not very popular anymore. Like, video essays are a big thing. Clips of shows are a big thing. There's a lot of different things that are big on YouTube right now. I don't get recommended gameplay videos, and I watch a lot of them on YouTube. So I just don't think that YouTube is recommending that sort of content as much as they are other types of content. So it's kind of one of those things where if you like the content, show it to somebody that you think may like it. And a lot of people have said, well, I've already done that, and none of my friends want to watch it. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But that's really the best thing that you can do.
Yeah.
As far as the other thing goes, so the real question is, what's a mix of games that you've missed in the current generation that are good to play, and then you can leave them for a while and then come back to them, like it's almost like something like Michael and I were playing God of War, and whenever we do a sequential that's blind, a lot of times you forget, when it's been a week since you've recorded, like, why are we doing what we're doing here again? And I must feel like some games have been I tell you what's probably a good game for that. Well, it'd be a longer play session is I love the fact that Judgment recaps what happened last chapter every time you go to another chapter, because sometimes I needed that recap. Sometimes I played chapter 4 yesterday and I need to see what's going on. I'd say that you're probably going to want to cut down a little bit on some of the story-driven.
Yeah, I mean, he even mentioned some really good games in there. Into the Breach is great. Darkest Dungeon is great.
Yeah. Earth Defense Force is okay. I don't know. Again, it just depends on the platform. Like, what I would probably say is, if you go to the thing that I always use is, if you go to Metacritic, you could sort like best games for the platform that you're talking about, and you can limit it to an individual year. You can say, like, what were the best rated games in 2019, or you can just uncheck that and say, show me the score. What were the top scoring games for all of the PlayStation 4 the entire time it's been a console, all of the Switch the entire time it's been a console? That's one of the best ways that I usually go in to start looking at that stuff, because I feel like it's easy to look at it. For the Switch, I think that Mario Odyssey would work really well, because it's a discrete bunch of levels, so you could leave and then come back to it.
I feel like a lot of the Nintendo games are like that.
Yeah.
Mario. I even think Luigi's Mansion is kind of like that a little bit. You could leave it and come back because each floor is kind of a different biome.
Yeah.
And kind of self-contained in a way.
They're very level based. Like I don't think Breath of the Wild would work, but I mean, Yoshi and Kirby, the Kirby games and the Yoshi games probably would work in there as well.
But yeah, as far as like other games on the Switch, you know what, a game that I actually do think is actually a good one, Hand of Fate 1 and 2.
Okay.
Now, unfortunately, that company is defunct.
Are they?
Yeah, they shut down.
Oh, okay.
But Hand of Fate 2, I think, is a great game. So I would, and that's on, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is on PS4 and on Switch.
Okay.
I own it on like the Xbox One and the Switch. But that's a great game that you can play and then kind of walk away from and then come back to it.
Yeah.
It's also one of my favorite, both 1 and 2, I think are some of my favorite games. I'm trying to think of like some other like kind of has a story, but maybe you can walk away from it that are along those lines.
Let's see. Celeste would probably work for that. That's very. I'm looking for things where it's like the gameplay is kind of front and center, but there is a story. Like I don't think I was thinking about The Witcher, but I mean that's just too. That's playing
That's
an hour
much.
once a month.
Yeah,
you're going to forget all the politics of what's going on.
Dead Cells.
Dead Cells, yep, that works pretty well for that because that's more of a more of an arcadey kind of thing. Let's see, boom. Yeah, Diablo's on the Switch. Diablo 3 is pretty good for that. Let's see,
Cuphead.
Cuphead would probably work pretty well for that sort of thing as well. Iconoclast, Rocket League, Necrodancer. Some of those are pretty good. On the PS4, I'm looking at the top ones here. We were just talking about it, but if you do end up with a PlayStation 4, because of the mission structure, I think Grand Theft Auto 5 might actually work out pretty well because each individual thing is kind of like a little piece of the story, and then in between there's just kind of a lot of faffing around. So it's like you could just come back and then hit up whatever the latest story thing is. I don't think the stories in GTA 5 are complicated enough that you would forget it in the long run because it's kind of a basic story. I mean, I don't know. There's 3 different protagonists, but all their stories are pretty simple, so they're pretty easy to get along with.
I don't know if you're a sports game person, and I don't know if it was released on any console other than the Xbox. I assume it was released on the PS4, but Mutant Football League.
Ooh, that's one I'm not sure if it was.
If it was on the PS4, I know it's not on the Switch, but if it was released on the PS4, that's also a fun game, even if you're just a remotely interested in sports or football. That one is great because the commentary is great. It's a great arcadey football game, and it's a lot of fun. I really liked it. Wonderful 101. When it comes out later, is another one.
Slay the Spire was really good, and that kind of like Darkest Dungeon roguelike doing runs type of
Slay
thing.
the Spire, and that's also on the Switch.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That came out on the Switch like a month or 2 ago.
Okay. I'm looking at the PS4 ones right now. I was thinking like something like Titanfall 2 or Injustice 2. You can get through the story mode in that pretty quick. And those are like, I think Injustice 2 is great just to play, right? It's kind of like Mortal Kombat 11 where it's like there is a story mode, but then you could just straight up play arcade in that and play it for an hour and it would be fine because it's just a fun game to play regardless of what the actual story is.
Same for Smash Brothers.
Yep. And then Smash Brothers has the whole board, right? Which you just challenges one at a time. There's kind of a sense of progression, but the story, there's not like twists and turns to the story of the Spirit board in the Smash Brothers story mode.
Yeah.
That'd be a really good one. Yeah. Stardew Valley, maybe? I never really got into Stardew Valley, but I heard
played that
good stuff
one.
about it.
Yeah.
Beat Saber, get yourself PSVR. Do an hour worth of Beat Saber. Get yourself all tired out. Go to bed. I'm trying to think of other stuff on the Switch, but
there's a lot of indie games on the Switch. Switch is very indie game friendly. So I mean, if there's any like indie games that you heard about that are on PC or whatever that you're like, oh, that sounds interesting, it's most likely on the Switch.
Yeah.
And if it's not on the Switch, it's gonna come out soon. Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah.
Is a great one that you can literally pick up and play.
Ape Out. You can ape it out.
Ape Out's another really good one.
Ape it the hell out. Yeah. Child of Light. Wow, I forgot about that game. I don't think that game is very good. I don't know if I'd recommend it. Oh, and if you are a father and you have kids and you get a Switch, man, do yourself a favor and get that one of the Labos, like Labo 1 or like Labo 3.
Labos are great.
Like
it's Lego with cardboard.
Yeah.
It's video game Lego with cardboard.
And what a great project to do with children, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to love it. They're going to love all the little pieces. And then each one of those is like a whole Sunday afternoon project that you could do.
And what's also great about it is Nintendo actually releases like game mode updates to all those games.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they release like new because you know how there's the Labo Garage in it, so like each of the Labo sets also has a Labo Garage where you can make your own game within using the whatever Labo set you have.
Yeah.
Well, they actually sometimes take some of the best of those and feature them. But then they also will make new stuff, like developers at Nintendo will make new stuff and then they'll release them to the public to everyone have access to them.
Okay. We got another question here that's a little heavy, John. So
no problem.
This one's a heavy romance question, and this one's coming in from, I'm going to call you Hudson Hawk. Hudson Hawk says, hey, Jeff and John, I have a non-gaming question here. I've been seeing this girl for a few months now and really enjoy spending time with her, but it now feels like hanging out with a really good friend, and I don't feel any real romantic attraction to her. The problem is I feel she might be falling in love with me. So my question is, have you guys ever found it hard to break up with someone, and what is the best way to break up with someone that you want to stay friends with? Thanks, from Hudson Hawk.
I haven't had that.
So this has happened. I'm not the most experienced guy in the world. I haven't had the most relationships in the world. This happened. There's been some stuff that has kind of gotten close to this particular situation. There was one woman that I dated for a couple of months, and I kind of fell into this similar situation of, I think that she had a lot more feelings for me than I had for her. And I remember she put me to like an ultimatum kind of in our relationship. And I basically picked the like, okay, well, then we're broken up thing. And I asked a lot of my friends that day, like, how long until I can talk to this person again? How long can how can I continue to be friends with them? And they kind of gave me the advice that sometimes that's not possible. Like, I'm actually friends with a lot of my exes, and it really just depends on how the breakup goes. I don't think there's any formula. This is kind of like going back to the grief question. I don't think there's any formula that is going to, like, that there's a right way where you can remain friends and there's a wrong way. I mean, obviously don't like, text breakup and then, I don't know, do some shitty shit. But sometimes you can be friends with people after you've broken up with them, and sometimes you can't. And it really just kind of depends on how that conversation goes.
Yeah.
If you guys are still, if you're just like casually dating right now and you can see that she's going to be having feelings for you, the big thing, of course, is to just kind of break this off. Don't let it linger. And then to see kind of how things go afterwards. Sometimes it can be sometimes when you break up with somebody, they will, and if you continue to have casual contact with them, the breakup doesn't hold, right?
It almost feels like, to them, it may feel like mixed signals.
Right, because they think that they may still have a chance for you guys to get back together again. Sometimes you have to just kind of close that door and say, we can't really have the communication anymore. So a lot of this is this is not going to be something where there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. What I would say is, from the only thing I can tell you from my own experience is, if this is how you feel, try not to equivocate. Try not to say, I'm trying to do things like, I'm going through an awful lot right now. I just don't think I can be in a relationship with somebody. That kind of thing, where you're essentially kind of trying to like pull some of the weight on to yourself,
but
then it's ambiguous, is that I feel like you need to express in the nicest and most humane way possible, I don't really have the same feelings for you that you have for me.
Yeah.
And that is where we're at. So, if that, instead of trying to spare the person's feelings by talking around the situation or making it's always better to be upfront with somebody about how you feel in those situations. Something which I myself have not been very good at over the years. I think that it's way better when you're in that kind of romantic entanglement to be upfront about how you feel.
Yes.
And not to
you might
be ambiguous.
It's also one of those things where it could be, and not saying this is going to happen, but it could be a thing where you're saying, hey, I don't, I like you, I like hanging out with you, but I don't love you, kind of thing. And I think we, should stop seeing each other as, like a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could totally be a thing where you're interpreting her like having feelings for me, and she's like, yeah, no, I'm right there.
Yep.
Like she may be in the exact same spot that you are.
Yep.
And you just don't know it.
Yep.
But then it's also possible that it may not be that. So I don't know. So it could be a thing where she looks at you and says, how could you break my heart like that, and runs away, and then you never hear from her again.
Yep.
Or it could just be a thing. She's like, cool, whatever.
Or it could be some combination. It could just be, hey, that that's really disappointing, and I don't think I can see you for a little while. And then, I don't know, 6 months or a year later, it's like, okay, you guys are friends again. She's dating somebody, you're dating somebody, and everybody's friends again.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just depends on how it goes. As with the first part, there is no clear roadmap for how to do this. The best thing to do is just to be honest and upfront, and do not equivocate about. I mean, I've had things where women were trying to be nice and not just say, no, Jeff, I don't want to date you. I don't have any feelings for you. And it led me to think that there was a chance, and then it let me string myself along. Like it was my fault. It wasn't their fault. They were just trying to be nice people. But I think that I think it would be better for everybody if we could just be like, hey, I like you. Well, I don't like you, or I do like you, to clearly state how you feel, and then go from there instead of the dancey dance. I mean, not in like a real harsh way or anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know. All my dating mishaps have been because of bad ambiguity in my life about feelings. So, let's see. Let's do some Patreon. Let's do some Discord questions. I'm trying to think of where we left off.
Don't ask me, man.
Dan, okay, so we switched to this one. Dan K wrote in and said, hey, Jeff and John, I know the hosts of Rage Select are, for the most part, not really fans of sports, but if I were to hand you $100 to attend a sports game, what sport would you choose? Your patron, Dan K.
Any of them. I've actually gone to hockey games. I've gone to baseball games. I've gone to football games. Mm-hmm. I've gone to basketball games. I don't hate sports.
Mm-hmm.
I love being at live sporting events.
Okay.
I actually think sports are something that are better enjoyed live and in person. I can't watch sports on TV. I can't. My brain doesn't care. But you get me there live, and I am invested in that game. Like I will learn. Yeah, I will learn what I can intuitively from what I'm watching. But if I am there live, I will enjoy that game, and I will have fun being part of the crowd. Cheering on the team that I'm there to see, mm-hmm. or booing the team that I'm there to hate, or just sitting there ambiguously going, I don't know who either of these teams are, but goddamn, this is fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, when you got thousands of people all sitting around you, yelling and screaming and jumping up on their feet when stuff happens, like it's infectious, right? Yeah. It's like, it's a...
I will say that coming to mind, there's probably one sporting event that I would not, which is golf. Oh. No, I will
no
not.
Golf for you?
I will not go watch anyone play golf.
I think the last...
Nothing wrong with it. It's just that one's a little too slow for me.
The last sporting event that I went to was in Los Angeles, and it was... I don't know who the Los Angeles baseball team is.
The Angels?
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is that they were playing Houston, the Astros or whatever.
Yeah, the Houston Astros.
Let's just say that the fans in Los Angeles were very, very vocal about supporting their team, to the point where I felt like if the Houston team did anything, if the Texas team did anything good, and I was to cheer for them, that I might have to fight someone in the parking lot later.
Oh yeah, no, that's just L.A. Yeah,
and I was just like, oh man, because I'm from Texas, wee, but like the booing that would happen if Texas did anything good, and I was just like, oh fuck, okay, I'm gonna eat this $8 hot dog and drink this $15 beer and keep my dumbass. I mean, not like I was super invested in baseball anyway. I consider baseball to be a really boring sport. Like, I don't know. It's just like
baseball is definitely one of those that I enjoy. I have enjoyed playing at some point in my younger days. Mm-hmm. Like Little League, and I enjoy watching live.
Okay,
that is like one of the epitome of I can only really enjoy it if I'm there live.
See, I think that for me, like the more rules based it is, the less I'm into it. Like I actually really like. I like watching basketball because it's just like it's easy to understand what's going on, and it's very athletic. It's very frenetic. Like, and you can tell, you just see it going on. Like football, it's like you get this whole thing about everybody like lining up, and you got to get.
You excited for the XFL? It's about to start.
No.
Oh man, XFL. Come on, man. It's smaller arena football.
No.
There's less rules.
No.
I'm sure someone's going to get hit with a chair.
Nope.
Because it's the fucking XFL.
Nope. Baseball is the same way, right? Like you can't just like. I feel like all you need is a net and a ball, and like people will figure out how to play basketball. You don't have to have a court. You can just have one hoop and then like a bunch of people. The more rules, the worse. Like I actually
hockey's great because fights break out all the time.
I kind of like watching tennis because it's just so goddamn athletic. Like. Just these people running back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and I don't know. But if you gave me $100 to go see a sport, you didn't specify which sports were allowed, I would go watch the Texas Roller Derby because
that's another good one.
I like watching a bunch of women on roller skates go in a circle and run into each other. What's not to like?
Yeah,
what's not to like?
We got some good roller derby teams here in Texas.
For 2 years, I was a huge roller derby fan, and then they made that reality show.
Oh, yeah.
And we tried to go to roller derby, and they had like all these cameras. There were 4 times as many people there. And then at one point, we were trying to watch the match, and a producer brought this drunk guy up and put him in front of my sister because he was loud and visible and would look good on TV. Like he literally took a guy that was like 6'3" and put it in front of my like 5'9" sister.
Wow,
like,
what a
right
douche.
in front of him. And it was just like, well, fuck this. Like it already cost twice as much to get in, and like the beers are twice as expensive, and they moved it from like they used to just do it in an air conditioned warehouse in Texas summer. So you're just standing there sweating your nuts off.
Yeah.
And then they moved it to like the old airport where they have the filming stuff here in Austin. They converted the old airport into the Austin Film Society, and they've got places to film. So
yeah, if I had to choose one, I'd probably say hockey because I always love watching hockey.
Okay,
because again, fights always break out, and it's always entertaining. I
can see it. I've seen the Goon. Did you see Goon 2?
I had not watched Goon 2.
I liked the first one a lot. I don't remember watching the second one. Let's see. Zeechling writes in and says, "Hey, Jeff and John, saw you needed some questions. Couldn't think of much offhand, so here's a quick one. Favorite My Hero Academia villain and why? Thanks for all you do and keep the great work. Great work, not hard work. Great work from Zeechling.
I abstain because I've only seen the first season and haven't really watched anything else.
You got the League of Villains in there, right? Got the hands on his face and the Nobus and the big like.
I feel
guy.
like in the first season you don't really get a good feel of what or who they are.
Yeah. Well, in season 4, let's see. I'm trying to think of. There's the League of Villains, and then there's another set of villains that come up later on. League of Villains are obviously kind of like the main guys. There's a guy. There's a part in the 4th season. I won't go into details. There's 2 characters in the League of Villains that may have come up in where you were watching it. No, they don't come up until later because Stain is the season 1, and then Stain is the catalyst for them. Okay, so there's this one guy called Twice that can make duplicates of other people, and he looks like Skullomania from the the Street Fighter Alpha or whatever that one was, the 3D one. Anyway,
EX.
Yes, EX. He's got a black outfit and a skull, and the thing is that he's got like this weird multiple personality disorder where he will say one thing and then there's like another personality in him that says the second thing. And there's kind of a whole little vignette with him that happens in the series where they show him his day and how he like can't really function in the world without his mask that kind of like puts them all together into one person. And then there's another character, I forget what her name is, but she's this like schoolgirl, or she dresses like a schoolgirl, and she can essentially take people's blood and then kind of like turn into a copy of them for a certain amount of time. The more blood, the longer she can stay them. And she's like a psychotic fangirl for the main character, Deku. Like, she loves him so much she wants to drain his blood and become him, basically. And there's kind of a weird thing in the fourth season where these two characters kind of have a bit of a buddy villain arc, and it was just really fascinating.
Okay.
Obviously, the heroes are generally more interesting than the villains in that show. And some of them are just so titanic that it's hard to really say like, oh, this one's the greatest villain. So, yeah. Let's see. Chili writes in and says, hey, Jeff and John, what's the most frustrating video game trend you've seen pop up in the last few years? Something you can't stand but is beloved by gamers or companies won't stop, and gamers or companies won't stop doing / inserting into their games, hoping the new decade is going well. And that's from Chili. Recent trends in games that you don't like. I got one right off the bat that I talk about all the time.
Okay.
Long length games. How games have become. It used to be that single player games were 8 hours long and JRPGs were 25 or 30 hours long, and now single player games are 20 hours long and JRPGs are 80 hours long. And man, I don't have that much fucking time to play one game. Like, this is one of those things where like even if I wasn't running Rage Select, I still would feel that. Like, it's not just like, I wish that I could play games fast before the next game comes out. I legitimately want to play as many games as I can before I die someday. So, like, I like being able to finish a game. I like to try to play games to completion. I really don't like to play a game and then just give up like halfway through because it's too long. Like, I really hate it when that happens. Yeah. So I don't like this thing that we've gotten into where the games have started to balloon up. I don't necessarily know if it's as much of a problem in my mind with the single player games being 20 hours, because 20 hours, you can do that over like 2 big days of playing a game, like two big 10-hour stints in a game. It's just the JRPGs. I like JRPGs, but I can't play them anymore because they're just so long. And it's always hard for me to get over the hump of a 40-hour game anyway. At around hour 20, I'm just going to be like, oh shit, I'm starting to lose interest in this game. But with 80 hours, my God in heaven, that's just too much. It's too much. I don't know.
I get that.
Anything that's standing out for you?
I can't think of a damn thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a single thing?
Like I honestly, I mean, most of the things that irritated me about games are things that have been tackled recently. You know, loot boxes and you know, stuff like that. Like I don't care anymore. Like, nothing really bothers. There's no trends that I can think of that really bother. You know, actually, there is a trend.
Okay.
Fucking Dark Souls. No. Like, just everyone just like, we're gonna make this game, but it's gonna be the Dark Souls version of this game.
Yeah.
I don't need Dark Souls half-assed Dark Souls to be shoved into another genre. Like, what is it? So, like, someone's making a Dark Souls, and like, it's like Dark Souls but in like space, and like it's like Dark Souls meets Dead Space. And I watched the trailer for it, and I'm like, this is the most generic fucking piece of shit that I've ever seen. It looks like someone just took Dark Souls and skinned it with like space
instead of medieval.
And it's like, that's not interesting to me. Stop trying to fucking copy Dark Souls. Do something interesting.
Yeah.
Don't just be like, it's Dark Souls, but in a different genre. It's Dark Souls, but in space. It's Dark Souls, but Star Wars. It's Dark Souls, but fucking Elmo's counting, you know, adventure.
The Dark Souls of Elmo games.
Yeah, it's like, it's fucking, who the fuck cares? Like, I don't have a problem with Dark Souls. I don't have a problem with Bloodborne. I don't have a problem with those style of game with those games specifically.
Sure.
I have a problem with other developers try to ape that format and do it half-assed.
It's like when we got the whole influx of roguelikes, right? Yeah. And it was like, well, Rogue Legacy did a very good job at that. Your game does not do a very good job with that. And just you know what? I played Journey to a Savage Planet. I've almost finished it. I'm trying to get to 100% on it because there's just a weird ending that you only get if you get 100%. And I'm like, I don't got anything better to do. I would have so much rather had No Man's Sky be 8 bespoke custom planets with like a gameplay loop of like getting a thing and then moments of story that were injected into it than just like, it's a roguelike. There are billions of procedurally generated planets and you can go to any of them. And it's like, yes, but are any of them fun? Even now, I admit that No Man's Sky is a way better game, but it's more of like a Minecraft game than it is like Journey to a Savage Planet or, I don't know, take a pick, Death Stranding, something where you're Outer Wilds, right? The way that Outer Wilds is about going out and exploring, but like because it's got this narrative focus, it's so much more rewarding than just like, well, I have to get carbon so that I can build the structure, so that I can get the resources, so that I can get a bigger ship, so that I can get more resources, so that I can do, and it's like, yes, but what is the fucking point? Like, so yeah, I get that because it frustrates me too. Like, I think Salt and Sanctuary would have been a better game if it wasn't trying to do the Souls thing. Like, I think that Dishwasher Smile is a better game than Salt and Sanctuary because Salt and Sanctuary was trying to do a thing and it did it okay. I think The Surge would be a better game if it was like a third-person action game and not the whole stamina management thing. I think The Surge 2 is better than The Surge 1. But yeah, a lot of them ape it, but they don't know how to do it. It doesn't feel like Souls. It just has the mechanics of it. And so it ends up being like, well, why did you use this? Did this mechanic make the game better? Or was it just, like Michael and I just got finished with God of War on Patreon. And it's funny because I feel like God of War, when we first saw it, it was like, oh, is this Souls? And it's like, only in as much as like they're kind of aping like the camera from Souls, like where your character is on screen and what you're locking on to an enemy and then attacking them type of thing. There wasn't like a stamina management in that game. There was some blocking, there was some parrying, but you didn't have to do that as much as you did in other games. But
so yeah, that's probably my one big gripe with trends.
Okay. Let's see. We got a little bit more time, so let's do a few more questions. Back to the email. Mauricio writes in and says, "Hey, Jeff and John, job hunting and love is in the air. This couldn't be any better time for me to get motivated for job hunting." He's got some questions with Devil May Cry. With DMC3 getting all the love for the Switch version, where they're adding all the game mechanics from DMC5 in and much, much more, like having all the weapons instead of just 2. What is a game that you wish would get the level of treatment with HD remastering, etc., where they added a bunch of new things into it? And 2, in the far future, what is a game you want remade like how Final Fantasy VII is, where it's vastly different from the original game? Thanks, and take care. And that's from Mauricio. So I don't know if you know this, but when they're releasing Devil May Cry 3 on the Switch, and they're adding in like the ability from DMC5 to switch between stances, because in the original Devil May Cry 3, you had to pick the stance you wanted for the stage. So you picked trickster or gunslinger or swordsman, or there was.
Then you were locked into that for the whole stage.
Yeah, you got picked at the beginning. You only got that, and then you only got XP for that one that you use. So it was kind of encouraging you to go back and play it over and over again. But they're adding in the ability to hot switch like in Devil May Cry 5 between the different stances. Kind of weird in a few ways, but sure, whatever. I like Devil May Cry 3. I don't think I'll ever go back and play it again. But is there a game from like the PS3, PS2, an older era that you wish that they would come in and like add some mechanics from later franchise entries in ? What is a game that you wish got the level of treatment HD remastering where they added a bunch of new things into it? I don't know. Like I'm kind of two minds where I kind of either want the company to just put out like the HD really good version accessible with modern controls of that game, or go back and like Shadow of the Colossus. What was the other one that just recently, like Resident Evil 2, like really just take that and then just remake it, right? Just like completely remake the game into a modern game, but with the previous sensibilities. Like, I don't know that I want to bracket mechanics, into previous games. Like there's a rumor going around that the PS5 is going to have HD, not HD because I guess it was HD, but like a re-release of Demon Souls. That they'll go back and remaster Demon Souls and put it together. Like, I don't really want them to change anything from Demon Souls, because Demon Souls is Demon Souls, and like it gets weird for me when you have like a updated version that has newer mechanics to it. Like, Twin Snakes put in the whole first-person aiming perspective into Metal Gear Solid 1, but like Metal Gear Solid 1 was designed with a different. It didn't have that. Don't get me
wrong. Twin Snakes was still a decent game, but they remade the game using the 2 engine.
So it's like if you're gonna do stuff like that, I almost wish you would go back in and redo the entire game instead of just putting one thing in. I don't know.
Just add Red Dead Redemption to Red Dead Redemption 2 as DLC. That's really it. That's all we need.
That would be so good.
That way Jason and Jeff can just replay all of Red Dead Redemption 1 in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Say would punch me. Like,
I know he would.
Really hard.
I know.
Like really, really hard.
And the fact that I put that out there is
yeah. We talked about what's going to happen because we record Red Dead 2 in blocks, obviously.
Yeah.
We got through the first epilogue really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, we're on epilogue 2, and epilogue 2 is longer than epilogue 1, but it ain't that long. So once it finishes, I got to figure out what the fuck's going to happen here on Rage Select next, because I don't know. We have a big hole in the schedule. In the far future, what's a game you want remade like Final Fantasy VII? Completely do it from the ground up.
Ooh.
Take a game, remake it from the ground up. I will refrain from saying Metal Gear, because I've always wanted, because everything else has an HD version and Metal Gear doesn't have an HD version. So not an accessible HD version, mind you. But an old game you'd like to see remade from the ground up with modern. It's funny. I was really excited when Night Dive was remaking System Shock 1 and putting in all of the kind of newer
game mechanics
to make it a vent crawler, like more of a traditional vent crawler than it was back when it originally came out. It was more of a super rudimentary resource management. That's one. I'd love to see the original Deus Ex get remade from the ground up.
Yeah, that'd definitely be a good one.
Because that's such a good game, but it's so hard to go back and play because it's real rough these days.
I'm sitting here going through what are games that are older that I would love to see a complete remake, and all I'm thinking of is games I just want HD remastered.
You know what? It's one that they
don't change anything to them. Don't add anything. Just up-res the graphics a little bit and just release it.
I would love to get a modern version of Vice City. Okay. With all the neon and the 80s stuff, and somebody actually made a map for it that looked pretty good a little while back. But
was it made in Dreams?
No, it was a GTA 5 mod. Or even it's funny, San Andreas, like the version they put out, the controls suck. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost unplayable.
Well, because the HD version was just the mobile port.
Yeah. So like, I almost wish they would go back and redo some of those old Rockstar games that are kind of difficult, kind of inaccessible these days.
Trying to think. I'm like, what games would I love to see re-released or remade? It's either a brand new entry in that franchise, but using the same mechanics as a base point, or just re-release the original game with no changes to it, like the Def Jam games. Fucking Def Jam Vendetta, Def Jam Fight for New York. Man, those games are so good.
I think you're the only person I've ever known who said those words out loud.
Really? Because I see articles and stuff about it and rumors, because even Def Jam started like tweeting out rumors about stuff. Like they were just like, who remembers Def Jam Fight for New York? And everyone's like, yeah, what would you do if we released an HD version? Yeah, we would buy it. Well, we're not actually thinking about it. We were just curious. And it's just like fucking Def Jam. It's like, what would you think if there was a new one? As long as it's not like Def Jam Icon, we'll all be good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're not actually planning anything. Fuck you, Def Jam. Don't play with my heartstrings.
For all the shit that I've given Final Fantasy VII, I think I would probably be excited if Square could do kind of the same thing with Final Fantasy VI, but like simpler, right? Like you play 10, right?
Yeah.
You know how 10 was like really easy to understand, right?
Yeah.
It was like you had the three but then there was also the sophistication of the sphere grid and that kind of stuff. Like I'd almost love to see Final Fantasy VI, because they made the weird DS like SD version, like with the weird models.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see Terra and Locke and the Sabin and all of them in as full 3D models, right? Not just like the original art, or not even just like a big sprite, or just like an up-res version. The only problem is that I still look at the Final Fantasy VII combat and go, I wish you hadn't changed it. I wish you hadn't changed the combat. And the combat was, I would be more excited for that game if it was turn-based, everybody line up on a side, ATB gauge, than this Square is so, I don't think they're very good at the whole we're mixing real time and turn based together, and I'm just like, no, there's a reason nobody does that. Stop it. Don't do that.
Yeah. Maybe the original Max Payne.
Okay.
Just
let's really
remake it
from the ground up.
Keep the same audio for the game.
Yeah.
Don't change the mechanics. Just remake
add some facial expressions.
Yeah. Just but you got to still base it on Sam Lake and his,
Well, sure,
because you got to have the standard Max Payne face. In there in Max Payne 1.
That's it. No, that's a good one. You know what I really would like. I hate the fact that it was a PlayStation 3, they put out the HD version, but on the PlayStation 4 and above and on the PC, I really would like somebody to go back and take God of War 2 and make it just kind of exactly the way that it is, but just get the graphics to look a little better. Because God of War 2 is my favorite. Like that one, I love the story where the game starts, Kratos dies, and then he just murders his way to the Sisters of Fate, and then murders the Sisters of Fate and rewrites history to be like, psych, I never died, Dad. And then I think Zeus kills him again, right? Because he starts 3 in the underworld with the Titans. The Titans, he comes back up. It's the beginning of 3, right? They're climbing Mount Olympus with all the Titans and stuff. But 2 is the one where, you have to steal Icarus's wings off of him and beat the crap out of him. I remember really liking 2. And outside of the HD collection on the PS3, I don't think there's a really good place to play those. Maybe Silent Hill 2, really just remake it so that it's like RE2 to RE2, Silent Hill 2 to Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, no, that'd be a really good one.
Mostly just thinking of PS1, PS2 era stuff that I would like to play.
Yeah. There's a part of me that would like to say Eternal Darkness, but I don't want that Silicon Knights to ever be a thing again.
You want Dennis Dyack back in your life?
I want Dennis Dyack. He has proved that he is his own worst enemy.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Here's let's see if I can get a short one to finish out here with. Here's a good one. This one's quick and easy. Chris writes in and says, "Hey guys, this is Chris. Was just wondering, what is the first video game you remember playing? Mine was a game called Loom." Wait, did we answer this one last week?
I don't think so.
Loom. It was a point-and-click musical adventure. Yeah, I remember Loom.
Yeah,
played it on my dad's old DOS computer and fell in love with the games. Thanks, and that's from Chris. What's the first video game that you remember playing?
Police Quest.
Police Quest. Okay.
Yeah, and I know that for a fact because I remember playing it, and then I remember trying to take the floppy disk out of the computer, and I didn't open the floppy disk tray properly.
Okay,
because you remember it had the switch. You had and then I didn't do it correctly, and it ended up tearing the floppy disk because I tried to yank it out.
Oh shit!
And it didn't break anything on the computer, but it broke the disc. And then I spent like the next like trying to figure out what to do. So I hid it like at the bottom of the trash can where the family couldn't find it. Whoa. And then when they asked about it, I was like, when I finally got, mind you, I'm like 6, 5, like I'm like youngish shit. I started making up this whole story about how these ninjas attacked the house and how I had to fight them off, but they still got away with the disc, and so the game is gone. And it was like, and for like a split second, I remember thinking that my family bought it.
Right. And then they started laughing the way that I was laughing.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, like they're just sitting there like, okay. All right. And it's like my brother's like, I'm gonna go search the room and see if I can find out where he hit it. And then like what really happened. I was like, well, I'm just pulling it out and it got stuck and I pulled a little bit too hard and it tore the floppy disk. Yep. And they're like, that's all you had to say. It's not.
When I was the first computer that I had was a Mac, and so it was the hard floppies, right?
Yeah.
The hard disks. Not a hard disk, but a disk that is firm and rigid with the little metal thing that keeps the
5x8s, not the 8x10s.
No, the 3.5, not
3.5, 3.25. Yeah, 3.25.
So
5x8's a photograph thing. But yeah.
But then at school with the Apple IIe's, and they all had the 5.25 floppy disk. But, the first game that I remember playing was Tempest in the arcade, because when I first started playing video games, home systems were pretty expensive still. So I remember being relatively decent at Tempest in the arcade, especially for some reason at the roller rink playing a lot of Tempest, to the point where my father commented on it that I was good at this video game. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I need to go.
Played a lot of. I do remember playing because my dad he was a sheriff, so he'd travel a lot to police conventions around the country. And whenever there was one that was in Texas that was nearby, he would basically just be like, "All right, well, let's get the whole family and let's go like to Galveston, or let's go to Beaumont, or let's go to." Whatever city in Texas that's nearby. And I just always remember almost every hotel that we went to would have a arcade machine that had pro wrestling, with like Starman and
like the where they put a Nintendo in the thing.
Yeah. Almost every arcade at every freaking hotel had that, so I remember playing that a lot as well.
My friend had that, and then we played it a lot.
And then Empire Strikes Back on the Atari. It's probably another one that I played early.
The first home system that I ever had that I remember, there was this game called Frontline, and it was we can't even find it on the internet. Well, it was nobody knows this. Jason and I were talking about this on a I think it was one of the Red Deads. There was a knockoff, like Atari 2600. There were all the knockoffs for it because there was like early copyright bullshit. But there was this thing that we had when I was a kid. It was the Coleco Gemini.
Yeah, I remember the ColecoVision and Coleco Gemini and all that stuff. Yeah.
And there was one of the games for it was this game called Frontline, and it was like a little just going up. There was like a guy shooting level, and then a tank level, and then it just repeated ad infinitum. And I remember just playing the hell out of that when I was like 3. I remember it was before we moved, before my sister was born, so I had to have been like 3.5. But I do remember playing arcade games before that because I could just barely see over the edge to get to the
I know that my family, my dad was very into computers. Like I said, we had old like Tandies, if that means anything to anybody. I actually had it until about a few years ago, an old Tandy 2600 laptop.
Oh wow.
Like where like the screen is like super tiny on it, and like it's to show Jeff, it's like,
oh yeah,
and like the laptop itself is like 4 times the size of the keyboard and screen combined. And
like it's a briefcase, and only like the front 4 inches are the actual computer, and the rest of it is computer.
And I actually it didn't work anymore, but I still had it. Like I'd always take it with me because I just liked the fact that I had this piece of computer history, and then I lost it in a move, unfortunately. But like I had that, and on that it had like Police Quest 4 and like a bunch of other black and white. Like it had like a Jeopardy game and a Monopoly game on it and stuff. Like I used to play stuff on that like all the time.
Right on.
So like a lot of my early video game stuff was definitely PC stuff because my family kind of gravitated. My dad was just always interested in having a computer and doing stuff with that early on, and then after that, we got the Atari and Nintendo, and
then just kind of standard. Yeah, much the same. And that's our show. We're done.
Hey,
another podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. And remember to send your questions in. Also, I was listening to this other podcast. Send in your weird stories too. I like a weird story. You know, we don't always have to answer a question. We just read a weird story and talk about weird stories. So send in whatever you want. Just not pictures of your junk. Please don't send me pictures of your junk anymore. It's just not something that I want.
And you who've already been sending them, stop.
Stop it. Just stop it. Stop sending them to mail@rageselect.com, which is the email address to send it into. And thanks everybody for watching. Good night.